All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Baharakah Kwadash. Double honors to the apostle elders, a great millstone, and salutations to you, Akim, out there laboring and doing this work in truth and sincerity. This is Brother Ra Kakama from the Grand Rapids Israelites camp, and I'm going to just get into briefly Trump supporting the bill for concealed carry nationwide, and how this also links up to biblical prophecy as far as the impending race war, because, we're coming to the time where, as Esau, is losing his kingdom, and more persecution is going to go out on the men of the Lord. It's also going to, be a trickle-down effect to the rest of you tribes, you Israelites out there, So this is going to be the time, prophesied, where it's going to be the time of Jacob's trouble, as far as a time worse than any time as far as war or tribulation in the earth. All right. So with that, let me just go ahead and get into it. It says, Trump support for new bill giving nationwide right to carry concealed weapons met with anger from anti-gun groups. Okay. All right. Because you've already been seeing, last year it was a lot of shootings, a lot of mass shootings. Some were even false flagged, but then you had a lot of mass shootings that took place, at random as well. So, that spirit of anarchy, is being stirred up here in Babylon. All right, so I'm not going to read the entire article, but I'm going to just read, just a few points that I wanted to highlight. Says, during the presidential election campaign, Mr. Trump positioned himself as a gun rights defender and claimed his opponent, Hillary Clinton, wanted to remove people's guns, an allegation that was not true. He said he personally had a permit to carry a concealed weapon and supported the idea of making such a right nationwide. Now, we already know that there's two different law systems concerning, you Israelites here, us in captivity here in America, and concerning these Edomites, that, these First Amendment, Second Amendment rights, or these laws is mainly for the protection and benefit of these Edomites and not you Israelites. Okay, so that's why, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. All right. So we're not going to depend on, Esau's weaponry as far as the gun, to defend us, in a time of Jacob's trouble, but for our faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, to defend us in the time of Jacob's trouble. Okay. So we're not advocating, for Jakes to go to the gun range, and start, shooting targets or whatnot, because at the end of the day, a gun is not gonna save you, for the times that's coming. It says, the right of self-defense doesn't stop at the end of your driveway, said one of his campaign's policy documents. That's why I have a concealed carry permit and why tens of millions of Americans do too. That permit should be valid in all 50 states. Okay, so with it being, just in all 50 states, where it's mainly to the benefit of these Edomites and not you Israelites, you know, that's going to cause all out anarchy and chaos, because now, these Edomites will, be even more of a terror to Jake here in America, like worse than they were, in the 50s and 60s, as far as the civil rights era, you know, but it's going to be even more terroristic. Scriptures speak about, they should be invading one another, and spoiling each other. Okay. Which I'll get into that briefly. It says, Mr. Smith said groups such as his had been galvanized by the election of Mr. Trump. The president is a supporter of the bill, he added. He said the media refused to report studies that showed violent crime dropped in those states that had passed concealed carry permits. Okay. So, they're saying that this is a potentially a positive thing, and people, have concealed carry licenses. It makes it to where somebody may be more hesitant as far as doing crimes against somebody, if they had the fear, the likelihood of being shot and killed, But at the same time, as this article is about to get into, I'm going to read it. It says, yet critics of the measure say the opposite is true. They point to a number of studies that suggest the more guns there are, the number of crimes, such as murder and rape, increases. All right, because once people have these weapons in their hands, if they wanted to go through and do some type of criminal or terroristic act, they have the gun, to bring about these types of crimes, and that's going to be increased, in the time of Jacob's trouble, in the time of martial law, in the time of this impending race war. Okay. It says last year, Scientific American said at least 30 studies showed such a correlation, whereas far fewer pieces of research supported the opposite conclusion. This bill flouts state law and allows anyone to carry a gun at any time, anywhere, regardless of existing state laws that establish procedures for how and when a concealed weapon can be obtained and carried, said Chris Brown, co-president of the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence. We already have an epidemic of gun violence in America, and adding more concealed weapons in more sensitive places like subways, hospitals, airports, restaurants, and schools create a nationwide public safety disaster. And that's exactly, the direction that this place is, heading into, because, this is a time of war. This isn't a time of peace, pursuant to Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, And, this is a time, where this generation is passing away, The generation of this whole age and society of Esau being in rulership is, coming to an end. And when, kingdoms come to an end, it's a lot of death, a lot of violence, and a lot of destruction, This is Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. All right. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. All right. I mean, we're in a time of great mourning. Okay. Of great mourning because of, death and destruction, but also for the men of the hopeful elect, that are delivered in these times, is going to be a time for, basically, a time to rejoice because they're going to be, kept for salvation as far as seeing all this death and all this chaos going on around them, but it not coming near to them. It says a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. And, that's what the men of the Lord are doing. We're speaking, these prophecies through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, declaring the end. Okay. And we know that it's going to be a time of persecution, for these Edomites to try to silence us from bringing out this word. But at the same time, these prophecies are still going to be in effect, whether they get the men of the Lord off the streets, or try to come against the word of the Most High, it's still going to be in effect. It says a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And that's, pretty much where in the beginning stages of World War III. And, this is going to cause great destruction throughout the earth because the Most High is, going to bring judgment on the whole world, for their wickedness. All right. This is Isaiah 13, verse 14. As a matter of fact, let me pull it up. It says, therefore, Isaiah 13 and 13, therefore will I shake the heavens and the earth shall remove out of her place. And, what's going to cause that? The identifiable flying objects, which is the chariots and the ICBM missiles, because when Yahushua comes to bring death and destruction to the wicked, the chariots is going to be shooting beams on his place, as well as those ICBM missiles that's going to be launched. It's going to be causing destruction. Okay. And it shall be as a chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people. And that's the time that we're coming into. It's not going to be, this whole all nations, as far as being joined together, or, Jake saying they got Edomite friends and what have you. But, it's going to be a line in the sand drawn, and that's the racial tension that is going to reach its climax, here in Babylon. And everyone shall flee into his own land. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Okay, so all these other nations is going to, pretty much turn to their own people, especially, you know, with these nations being against America and against being sick of, the so-called white man Esau, you know. And you're seeing it now. You're seeing it with the Middle East. You're seeing it with China. You're seeing it with Russia. You're even seeing it in Ham's land, Africa as well. Every nation is turning to their own people. And it's time, for you Israelites to turn to your own people and turn to the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. It says, their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled. All right. As far as if all 50 states, have that concealed carry, that's going to cause people to be, when this destruction is brought about, to be running up in people's houses, women will be raped, children will be, put to death. It's going to be a lot of death and destruction. This is 2nd Ezra 15 and 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. So hey, there's a that goes back to that race war. One people shall stand up to fight against another, and sword in the modern day, sword is the gun. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Okay, so just like, the article stated that crime seemed to minimize when, more people have access to concealed carry firearms, it's going to be more, the opposite of that is going to come into effect, where, a lot of crime is going to come up, a lot of crime motivated by race, so it's going to be invading one another. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. And that's in the time of martial law, where they are going to have, city entrances blocked off, to where you can't escape from one city to another. And they're actually going to have curfews and detention centers implemented to people who violate whatever laws or decrees that's taking place during martial law. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall be destroyed their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And that's another thing, it's going to be a famine, So these are the things that's going to be, taking place, soon to come here in Babylon, aka America. All right, this is Jeremiah 30, verse 1. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord Yahweh, saying, thus speaketh the Lord Yahweh, the power of Yasha'Allah, saying, write thee all the words that I have spoken unto thee in a book. For lo, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah, saith the Lord. And how is the Most High bringing again the captivity of Israel and Judah? Is he's causing all the tribes to, wake up to this knowledge and remember who they are in this land and in this captivity. All right. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and natives, is being sealed with this truth to, those of the chosen of you that's coming back to this knowledge. All right. It says, for lo, the days come, said the Lord, that I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel and Judah, saith the Lord, and I will cause them to return to the land that I gave to their fathers, and they shall possess it. Okay? And, that's, what our salvation, is going to bring, is that we're going to go back to the land of Israel and be brought out of the captivity of being here in America. When the chariots deliver the elect in 1/3, we're going to be set down on the earth again, and delivered through our Lord Yahushua and set in the land of Israel. And these are the words that the Lord Yahweh spake concerning Israel and concerning Judah. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh, we have heard a voice of trembling and of fear and not of peace. Okay? So, this goes to, you false Israelite groups, that's not really, pushing this and not really pushing, the time of Jacob's trouble, that's to come, It says, ask ye now and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness. All right. So you're literally going to see men, being in complete panic and fear, as a woman with child, literally, screaming to the top of their lungs, like a woman, because of, all of the death and destruction that's going to be taking place. It says, at last, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Okay. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. All right. So Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the Most High, is stirring up all of the armies in the earth, because he's about to get ready to bring that destruction. Okay. That's why all these nations is gearing up for war. And that's why, we're in the midst of World War III taking place. It says, but they shall serve. Let me read this one more time. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. All right. So we're about to be, completely released from our last captivity, and here in America and wherever we may be dispersed throughout the earth. And, the strangers is no longer going to be able to benefit, from our labors. It says, but they shall serve the Lord Yahweh their power, and David their king, whom I will raise up unto them. All right. So, because in the kingdom of heaven, when Yahweh Shai, is set up to be the ruler, we're also going to have King David, set about as well. It says, therefore, fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, saith the Lord, neither be dismayed. All right. So, we, is building up our faith, so that we won't be fearful, in these times to come, but we're going to have faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and that he's going to deliver us, It says, for lo, I will save thee from afar, and thy seed from the land of their captivity, and Jacob shall return and shall be in rest and be quiet and none shall make him afraid. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee. All right. So even with all this death and destruction that's getting ready to take place, with World War III, which is going to be, the second judgment that the Most High is going to place, the second death, with thermonuclear fire, Babylon being burnt off the face of the earth. He's going to bring the destruction of, these nations' armies. They're going to be left few in number. 2/3 of Israel is going to be destroyed, but he's not going to make a full end of us because the elect in 1/3 is going to be redeemed. And, that's how the nation of Israel is going to flourish in the kingdom. It says, but I will correct thee in measure and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. All right. So, that's times that we coming into. So, all of us is going to, receive, that chastisement and judgments going forth from the Most High, And with this being put in effect, this whole gun law, concealed carry, that's going to add to, the prophecy of this race war taking place, soon to come. And with that, once again, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Wa Rakah Kodash, and double honors to the Apostle Elders, a great millstone who rule well, and peace and safety to the hopeful elect. Shalom.